Lady Fermenter. Have you ever gotten buttered popcorn or butterscotch flavors in a beer? Well, that's diacetyl, and in most beer styles, it's a flaw. Come hang out with me today, and I'll show you how to make sure these guys don't end up in your beers. So today I'm going to show you how to do a forced diacetyl test. And I think you're really going to like it because it's cheap, it's easy, and you don't need a lot of fancy equipment. But what you will need is a kettle with some water, a canning jar with lid and ring. And I'm saying canning jar, I'm using a canning jar because they're designed to be heated up, so you want them to stay safe. And you're going to need a sample of your beer that you think is done fermenting. Now, if you're yelling at me right now saying that your gravity hasn't changed in a week or two or maybe longer, it still may not be done fermenting, and I'll get to that in a moment. And what you're going to do, and you're going to need a thermometer. And all we're going to do is we're going to gently warm that sample of beer to 60 to 70 degrees Celsius or 140 to 158 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're just going to let it hang out in there for at least 10 minutes. We go 15. Now, if you're wondering what diacetyl is, it's just basically it's a byproduct of fermentation. That's all it is. So the yeast is producing it. But if you take care of your yeast, they'll clean it up for you. The other thing about diacetyl is some people are genetically blind to it, which means they can't detect it. So if you know you're that way, reach out to a friend or family member or fellow home brewer or brewer to help you with this test. The one thing I want to note about that is even though you may be blind to it in a cold, frosty beer, you may not be blind to it when it's warmed up. So we have one ready to go. So this has been hanging out for 15 minutes. This is a German Pilsner, and all you need to do is at the end of at least 10 minutes, like I said, we go 15, is take the lid off, and I know I can detect it just by smelling it, and the beer is fine for you to taste. And if you don't detect any butterscotch or buttered popcorn flavors, you're good to go to the next step of your process.
Which is?
For us, it's cold crashing.
Oh.
That's what we do next. But I don't want to speak in absolutes because people are doing all sorts of fun things. Now, if you do detect it,
what do you do then?
Then you need to let your beer warm up. So like I said before, your beer may not be done fermenting even though the gravity hasn't changed in an extended period of time. What you want to do then is just let that beer warm up. We find that 5 to 10 degree difference, warming it up, just letting the beer warm up that small amount is enough to get the beer warm enough so that the yeast is happy. So what happens is when you pitch your yeast into your wort, the yeast starts consuming the sugars and cell dividing. So the mother cells turn into daughter cells. And during that process, it gets nice and toasty warm in there, and that's when they're happy. But once they're done cell dividing, it gets cold and they're miserable. So they're bobbing around in your beer and they're cold and miserable and they're not doing anything. Once you bring that beer out and let it warm up a little bit, we don't have mechanical temperature control yet, so we use ambient temperature. So we go from fruit cellar to basement or from basement to upstairs, and after a few days the yeast is warm, the beer warms up, the yeast is warm, and they basically are bobbing around in your beer and they are warm and they're like, oh, I feel so much better. And they basically just look around and go, hey, what's there to do around here? And they see all this diacetyl, they're like, wow, look at all this diacetyl, we'll clean that up for you. So that's basically what happens. So I know I may have oversimplified this, and I'm okay with that. The inspiration for this video came directly from Nate and Richard at Escarpment Labs. And if you haven't checked out their YouTube channel or their website, you should, because they're creating a ton of great content to make us better brewers. And if you want to geek out about this information or you want more information, they were nice enough to let me link that information down below for you. So thank you so much to Nate and Richard at Escarpment Labs for sharing that information. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any additional videos. And thanks a pint for watching.